I want to talk to you today about a group of people that's been affected. We've been talking a lot about groups that are affected. As a society, we're very aware of groups that are affected, and but a different group that has been affected by everything happening that you might not have been aware of. And to tell you this story, I want to tell you a story about going to Ukraine. And two stories, actually. One to do with Ukraine. We went over there and we were not aware of cultural differences. We knew that there would be some, but we just didn't obviously know what they were going to be. One of the things that we were not prepared for was having had personal distance, not having personal distance. So that when we got there, we would find that people would talk to us like this, approximately. I'm trying to approximate the distance that people wanted to get right in your face and talk to you at, which was very difficult to stand this far apart from somebody, and they kind of want to be, you're well within my bubble. You have invaded my bubble. Now, there are people that we allow to invade our bubble. You have to be very close. You have to be, have a certain affection to get inside there without us feeling uncomfortable. That brings me to our second story. That has to do with a man by the name of Barry, who was very instrumental and influential in my life. And Barry is a Scottish guy. He's he was 6'3". As a kid, he looked 7'5" to me. Especially being as how I was fairly diminutive. And Barry, I remember when he first came. I mean, not the first day, but I remember when he first started coming to church, and it was shortly after we had moved to Massachusetts. And I was a little kid; I was only 4 or 5, and so he probably started coming around when I was 6 years old or something to that effect. And so it was late 70s, and not in character of what you would expect from a 6 foot something Scottish guy. He was very affectionate, and so he came and he was just excited about being in church. And the first thing he did, he's shaking everybody's hand, and he goes up to the preacher's wife, or one of our preacher's wives, and gives her a hug. Barry is a hugger, and that took everyone by surprise. This is New England. Now you have to remember, New England is a little standoffish, and he's raised right there in Massachusetts, so he's an oddity, but just very affectionate guy, and just the way he was raised. But he's around people that are, just not naturally that way, and so nobody knew what to do. And her husband was kind of shocked, and just, what do we do? What do we do? But the affectionate people like Barry are really feeling this, I think, dramatically, and to not be able to reach out. And I know I say this with jokes and with lighthearted comments, but Barry's mother passed away during this, and she was suffering. She was kind of like everybody's grandma. I knew her. I knew Mary very well. Had been in her home many, many, many times as a kid. When I was out at Barry's house, and she was right down the hill, and we would go to their house all the time, right on the lake. And to see a drive-by procession where the church members were honking and well-wishing and from a distance is heartbreaking to me. And I noticed something the other day. I noticed it a little bit, and I really noticed it today when I was in the store. And I noticed that, not just from a standpoint of wanting to resist and but from being affected, how I've been affected by the 6-foot barrier. In lines at the store or whatever, however they have structured things up, and if you get too close, if you step past the little red line in the checkout, that cashier is going to tell you what. And oh, sorry, I didn't see the line. Back up, and so you start becoming aware of it. But now I became aware of it not just when I'm being scolded by the cashier, but personally in my own distancing. I'm noticing, hey, you're within my 6-foot range. What are you doing there? I've been reprogrammed almost in a way, to where it's now a part of my own subconscious. I'm not just reacting to the people around me in terms of what they want me to do, but it's now I've sort of adopted this 6-foot barrier. It's no longer just arms. What are you doing? How are you today? But now it's like I'm way off it. Hey, how are you today? And I've accepted this new social barrier that we have. So my encouragement is, and a little bit shorter today, but my encouragement is to us that as we do open up, and it is going to open up here in states, various ones are already dipping their toes, and some of you might be fortunate enough to be in a state that's up to their knee already in reopening. So we're in a state that's thought about going near the water, so we're a little bit behind the curve here. But once we all do open up, I want you to think about how this has affected you in terms of your social distance from people, to not let that become your new normal, the new way we respond and react to people, that we do need personal contact, not to be afraid. I am concerned that we might be afraid of each other because of being reprogrammed to do the things that we've done, and the measures that have been taken. I am concerned that we will arrive eventually at our places of worship with a new emotional distance from each other, and I pray that that is not the case. And I if you do notice it, be aware, be alert for it, and if you do notice it, force yourself to overcome it. Address this new emotional distance that might take over in your own personal life.